Thank you, everybody. Apologies for starting 15 minutes late. We wanted to get the full docket done for natural resources this morning, so we got it done a little bit early. Thank you all for being here today. Before I begin, though, I want to recognize some special guests we have here today from the Augusta Valley Career and Technical Center. If the students from the livestock class could please stand and be recognized. And also their teacher, Miss Barry, who is apparently amazing. So round of applause and thank you for coming here today. And we hope you guys enjoy the presentations, but also we hope that you continue your education and really consider farming as a career. So with that, we took significant testimony in subcommittee for most of the bills before us. We do have one bill that we want to address in full committee that is simply a series of amendments from Delegate Bullivo. Delegate Bullivo, if you can speak to your bill, SHB 320.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so this bill was heard in subcommittee. It was reported on an 8-2 basis. What the bill does, just briefly, it provides a path forward for volunteers to be able to use non-restricted pesticides in order to be able to engage in the management of invasive plant species, as long as they've got the proper training and as long as the local government in question agrees and oversees the program. There were two amendments that I wanted to add on there at the recommendation of VDACs. And that's why we had this carried over from the last meeting to make sure that I could get those properly in order. But if council could report those amendments.
Mr. Chairman, on line 49, introduce after certified, insert commercial. On line 49, introduce after instruction, insert by a certified commercial applicator. On line 51, introduce after Romanet 3, insert the proper use of personal protective equipment, comma, in the Romanet 4. And on line 52, introduce after and, we're striking the Romanet 4 and inserting Romanet 5. And
Mr. Chairman, so just to summarize, this makes sure that the training is overseen by a certified commercial applicator. That's kind of the highest level of certification. And then I also thought VDAC's suggestion that as part of the training that we make sure that there's training on the proper use of personal protective equipment was a really, really good safeguard. And so with that, I would move the amendments.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the committee? Delegate Wilt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for the patron?
You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I was originally a no vote, and I've talked with the patron, and one of my concerns is the oversight, when the spraying is actually taking place, and I see the language in the bill, where it's at. It says direct supervision. So I'd like to have a little better feel for what that direct would look like.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Chair. And that's a great question. The way that direct supervision is spelled out and defined in the code, it's not that individual has to be on the site in person all the time. But there does have to be a direct line of accountability for those individuals on site, and so that's pulling from existing code with respect to how we deal with certified commercial applicators and technicians that are also in training.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? All right, we'd like to move the adoption of the amendments. So moved. We've moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, the amendments are before us on the bill.
No.
Delegate Bullivo.
Mr. Chairman, this was reported from the subcommittee 8-2, and I would so move with amendments.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Let's take it up to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 17 to 4, HB 320 is reported with amendments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Bulova. So let's move now into the Natural Resources Subcommittee report from Chairwoman Tran.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I will start with House Bill 107. Just want to make sure there weren't any amendments to this bill. House Bill 107 creates the electric vehicle rural infrastructure program and fund to assist private developers with non-utility costs associated with the installation of electric vehicle charging stations in certain localities. Our subcommittee recommended reporting and referring to appropriations by a vote of 8-2. And I see the patron is here.
I believe, did you have another small one-word amendment? I did, thank you. Can the attorney, the DLS, or the patron please tell us where the amendment is located?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shout out to my friend Delegate Bloxham, who noticed this oversight in the original draft. I need to add one word in two different places. The amendment would be first on line 40 of the bill, after the words installation of, add the word public. So it would be installation of public electric vehicle charging stations. And the same thing on line 45, after the words installation of such, add the word public electric vehicle charging stations.
Are there any comments or questions from the patron about the amendment?
Move the amendment.
Second.
The amendment's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, the bill is before us. And
Mr. Chairman, so the subcommittee recommends reporting and now the bill as amended by a vote of 8-2 and referring this bill to appropriations, and I so move.
It's moved and seconded to report the bill as amended to appropriations. Let's go to the electronic voting board. Has everyone voted? All right. By a vote of 15-6, the bill has been reported and referred with amendments to appropriations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, we have House Bill 309. I'd like to move the committee substitute.
Second.
So, all those, any comments or questions about this committee substitute?
Hold on a second. I've got a lost connection here.
Hold on, we have a technological blip. All right, proceed again. We have a substitute before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 309 requires the Department of Forestry, in coordination with the Stakeholder Advisory Group, to develop a forest conservation plan no later than November 1 of 2025 and to update the plan every 5 years thereafter. The subcommittee recommends reporting and referring this bill to the Committee on Appropriations by a vote of 10-0, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All right, let's go to the electronic voting board.
Catching up, yeah.
All right, by a vote of 21-0, the bill is reported and referred to with the substitute to appropriations. Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 496 by Delegate Garrett. I see him coming up. Do you wish to continue, Delegate Garrett, with this bill?
I'm happy. I'm just here to entertain the committee's motions.
Okay, great. This House Bill 496, I'd like to move the committee substitute.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, substitutes before us.
This bill requires a tire producer, as defined in the bill, to dispose of all waste tires to a processing facility or a recycling center through a licensed hauler, and ensures that the waste tires intended to be disposed of are placed in a secure location that's not readily accessible to the public, and to register with the Department of Environmental Quality no later than October 1, 2024, and annually thereafter. It also expands the purpose of the Waste Tire Trust Fund. The subcommittee recommends reporting and referring to appropriations by a recommends reporting and referring the substitute to appropriations by a vote of 6-4, and I so move.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Bloxham.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. Speaking to the bill briefly,
Yes, Delegate Bloxham.
just so everyone understands, this is cradle to grave responsibility for the tire, which means all your little tire dealers are going to have to fence in their used tire pile. And I am assuming, by the way I'm reading it, I'm going to have to follow the tire through the life of it, which is fine, except there's no real good way to get rid of tires right now. I'm hoping that hence my question this morning to Delegate Boulevard about making sure they look at that and then recycling. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Bloxham. All right, Delegate Tran? She already made the motion.
I think I made
All
the
right.
motion, yes. That's
So
been seconded.
The motion's been moved and seconded. All right, let's go to the electronic voting board. All right. By a vote of 14-7, the bill is reported and referred with substitute to appropriations. Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Madam Chair.
House Bill 879 authorizes the Department of Wildlife Resources to grant and convey an easement and right-of-way at Land's End Wildlife Management Area to Betty J. Frank, Jacob C. Ackerman, and Crystal F. Ackerman. The subcommittee recommends reporting by a vote of 10-0, and I so move.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Let's take let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 21-0, the bill is reported.
House Bill 1025 is before us, and if I may just say, this was the best bill hearing that I've experienced in my 7th session in 7 years. It allows any deer, bear, turkey, or elk that appears to have been killed in a collision with a motor vehicle to be claimed by and awarded to any person. The subcommittee recommended reporting this bill by a vote of 10-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded. I think we should kill it. No. The bill has been moved and seconded. Let's take it to the electronic voting board. All righty. By a vote of 21-0, the bill is reported.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1297, we would like to move the committee substitute.
Is there a second? Second. It's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The substitute's before us.
This bill provides that beginning July 1 of 2026, after required distributions for transportation and localities under current law, up to $200 million of the remaining recordation tax revenues shall be distributed for specified land protection and preservation purposes. The subcommittee recommends reporting with the substitute and referring it to appropriations by a vote of 10-0, and I so move.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been moved and seconded. Let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 22-0, the bill is reported and referred with substitute to appropriations. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, let's move now to the Agriculture Subcommittee report. Delegate or Chairman Helmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first bill that we'll be discussing is House Bill 62 by Delegate Campbell. It establishes an animal cruelty conviction list and requires the superintendent of state police to establish that list no later than January 1st, 2027. It includes a fence of $50 per conviction to fund the maintenance of the list. The subcommittee recommended reporting the bill and referring it to the Committee on Appropriations on a vote of 6-4, and I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 16 to 6, the bill is reported and referred to appropriations. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next bill in front of us is House Bill 206 by Delegate Simons, which required pet shops to provide a notice of deceased animals to the state veterinarian. The subcommittee recommended continuing that bill till 2025, and I so move.
That's a voice vote. Do we have a second? So it's been moved and seconded. That's a voice vote. All those in favor of continuing to 2025, HB 206, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The bill is continued to 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the next bill that came out of the subcommittee was House Bill 223 by Delegate Orrock, cruelty to animals, possession and ownership of animals. The bill stated that those convicted of a felony cruelty to animals could be prohibited by the court from possession or ownership of the animals for life, and that any person convicted of misdemeanor cruelty to animals may be prohibited by the court from possession or ownership of animals for a period of up to 5 years. There was a substitute. The subcommittee recommended reporting that with substitute and referring it to the Committee for Courts of Justice on a vote of 7 to 3, and I so move.
We move the substitute. The substitute's before us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. So the subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute. Let's go to the electronic voting board. Oh, refer to courts. I apologize. All right, by a vote of 16 to 6, the bill is reported and referred with the substitute to the Courts of Justice Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 330 was the next bill in front of the subcommittee by Delegate Orrock. It places pet shops offering consumer credit under the Federal Truth in Lending Act and the CFPB regulation when it offers extended consumer credit. There was a substitute. The subcommittee recommended reporting with that substitute on a vote of 10 to 0, and I so move.
Move the substitute. All those in favor of the substitute say aye.
Aye.
All right, substitute before us. Let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 22 to 0, the bill is reported with substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the next bill in front of us is House Bill 580 by Delegate Simons. It provides reporting requirements for animal testing facilities and public notification of those reporting requirements. The subcommittee recommended reporting and referring it to the Committee on Appropriations on a vote of 7 to 3, and I so move.
Second.
All right, let's go to the electronic voting board. The bill's moved and seconded. By a vote of 14 to 8, the bill is reported and referred to appropriations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next bill in front of us is House Bill 759 by Delegate Freitas. There was a substitute. What the bill did was put a $9,000 cap on the gross sale of pickles with a pH value of 4.6 or less. It also added in cake pops. There was a pretty robust discussion of
Cake Pops.
Cake Pops.
Cake Pops.
There was a pretty robust discussion of this bill in committee, and the delegate had offered to contact VDH to see if there had been issues around botulism related to pickles. I have a letter from VDH that says there have not been significant cases of botulism since 2013 when we opened this up to 3,000. I had voted against this bill, but I am going to move. I was a sole no vote, but I am going to go ahead and move to report the bill. First, move the substitute.
Second.
All those in favor of the substitute, please say aye.
Aye. And then I will make the motion to
All those
report.
opposed to the substitute?
Second.
All right. All right, go. Substitute before us.
And I will move to report the bill.
Second.
All right. Second, it's moved and second. Let's go to the electronic voting board. By a vote of 22 to nothing, the bill is reported with the substitute.
Take your cake pop and eat it. Mr. Chair, House Bill 804 is in front of us now. This is by Delegate Rasool. It deals with how long you have to time for adjudication for a dangerous dog and increases it from 30 days to as soon as practicable. The subcommittee recommended reporting the bill on a vote of 10 to 0, and I so move.
Second.
Excellent. The bill is before us. Let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 22-0, the bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the final bill in front of the subcommittee was House Bill 1167 by Delegate Krizik, which prohibited the sale of English ivy and established a civil penalty of $50 for the first violation and up to $200 for subsequent violations within 12 months. The subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 7-3, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 14-8, the bill is reported. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, let's move now to our final subcommittee report. Delegate Bolovich, Chair of the Chesapeake Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First bill up, we have House Bill 245 from myself. This bill would require specific facilities that have engaged in the manufacture or use of PFAS to conduct a one-time report on the use of such chemicals and require certain facilities to perform a PFAS discharge characterization assessment. The subject matter is actually a subset of Delegate Rasul's House Bill 1085. The subcommittee recommended incorporating House Bill 245 into House Bill 1085, and I so move.
Second.
All right, the motion is before us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next bill is House Bill 288 from Delegate Wiley. This bill requires a person that is obtaining a waterfowl blind license at the time of the transaction to provide the unique location of each stationary waterfowl blind to the Department of Wildlife Resources. The bill further requires the department to publish the coordinates, excluding any personal information, on its website in a searchable and publicly accessible manner. The bill has a delayed effective date until January 1, 2025, and I understand that DWR is able to implement the bill and does not have concerns. The bill has amendments, so I'd move those amendments.
Second.
All right, we have amendments before us. It's properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
All right, and then
Our amendments are before us.
Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommended reporting with amendments 10-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 21-1, the bill is reported with amendments. Next up.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next bill is House Bill 524, Lawfer. The bill requires applicants for federal licenses or permits for natural gas transmission pipelines with an inside diameter of at least 24 inches to submit a separate application and supporting plans to DEQ concurrently with a joint permit application. Current law applies such enhanced standards for pipelines with a diameter of greater than 36 inches. After considerable discussion, the subcommittee was not ready to move forward with this bill, but did want to signal an interest in addressing the issues brought forward by Delegate Lawfer. The subcommittee recommended continuing to 2025, and I so move.
It's properly moved and seconded. This is a voice vote. All those in favor of continuing to 2025, or any comments or questions on this issue? No? All right, all those in favor of continuing to 2025, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next bill is House Bill 656, also from Delegate Wiley. The bill prohibits a person from engaging in any land disturbing activity until where Virginia Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit coverage is required. The Virginia Erosion and Sediment Control Program Authority, which tends to be the locality, has obtained evidence of such permit coverage from the Department of Environmental Quality prior to issuing the land disturbing permit. Believe it or not, Mr. Chairman, that is actually clarifying of existing confusing language. The subcommittee recommended reporting 10-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Let's go to the electronic voting board. Okay, HB 656 from Delegate Wiley passes by a vote of 22-0.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1053, Delegate Knight. This bill allows localities and state agencies to apply under certain circumstances to the Department of Wildlife Resources for an authorization to destroy and dispose of an abandoned watercraft. This is the same process that an individual can use to deal with an abandoned watercraft on or in front of their property. The subcommittee recommended reporting 10-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. Let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 21-0 or 22-0, the bill is reported. Next up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1058 from Delegate Hodges. This bill requires the Department of Wildlife Resources to develop a singular license for all stationary blinds granted to and located on property owned by the Middle Peninsula Chesapeake Bay Public Access Authority and the Northern Neck Chesapeake Bay Public Access Authority. The bill also ensures that DWR can put together a fee schedule to keep them fiscally whole. The bill has a substitute, and I would move the substitute.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of the substitute, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Substitute's before us.
And Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommended reporting with substitute on a 9-1 basis, and I so move.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 20-1, the bill is reported with a substitute.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1085, Delegate Razul. This bill builds on past PFAS monitoring efforts and establishes a process to identify sources of excessive PFAS through a 3-part framework whenever a water system exceeds a PFAS-related MCL or a proposed MCL by the EPA. Part 1 is self-reporting of PFAS manufacture and use by facilities that DEQ deems a potential source of PFAS in a water system source water. Part 2 is quarterly testing of PFAS sources that DEQ determines to be potentially significant for a period of 1 year, beginning within 90 days of DEQ's request. And Part 3 is a PFAS assessment conducted by DEQ to consider all information provided and to identify potential regulatory and non-regulatory options for addressing each significant source. The bill includes an enactment clause that requires these steps to begin in 2024 for water systems with known MCL exceedances. Finally, House Bill 1085 establishes a PFAS advisory committee to assist DEQ and VDH throughout the process. The bill has a substitute, and I would move the substitute.
Second.
The substitute has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Substitute's before us.
All right. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute and referring to the Committee on Appropriations on a 9-1 vote, and I so move.
Second.
All right, the bill's been moved and seconded. Let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 22-0, the bill has been reported and referred with substitute to appropriations.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next bill is House Bill 1135, Delegate Hodges. This bill requires the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services to convene a work group of relevant stakeholders in order to support efforts to create a robust and resilient market for blue catfish. The work group shall review past and ongoing efforts to promote the creation of a market for blue catfish, identify and explore potential sectors for the blue catfish market, and identify any action that the Commonwealth can take to promote and expand the market for blue catfish. The department shall submit a report of the findings and recommendations no later than September 1, 2025. And for anybody in the audience who wonders why we care so much about blue catfish, they are invasive and are literally eating their way through the Chesapeake Bay and threatening blue crabs and a number of other very important native fish in the Chesapeake Bay. The bill has a substitute, and I would move the substitute.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of the substitute, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Substitute's before us.
And with that, the subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute and referring to the Committee on Appropriations.
Let's go to the electronic voting board. Berg. By a vote of 21-1, the bill is reported and referred with substitute to appropriations. Final bill.
Mr. Chairman, rounding out the report is House Bill 1157 from Delegate Krizik. This bill requires the Department of Conservation and Recreation, the Department of Environmental Quality, the Department of Historic Resources, and the Virginia Marine Resources Commission to establish policies and procedures for consulting with federally recognized tribal nations in the Commonwealth when evaluating certain permits and reviews relating to environmental, cultural, or historical resources that potentially impact those federally recognized tribal nations. The bill further directs the Secretary of the Commonwealth to designate an ombudsman for tribal consultation to facilitate communication and consultation with federally recognized tribal nations. The effective impact of the bill is to codify Executive Order 82 from 2021. Mr. Chairman, the bill has a substitute, and I would move the substitute.
Moved and seconded. The substitute has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute and referring to the Committee on Appropriations on a vote of 6-4, and I so move.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Let's go to the electronic voting board. All right, by a vote of 15-7, this bill is reported and referred with substitute to appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate all of your amazing work over the last week or so. We have another week of getting bills done and a couple longer than possible nights. But I also want to thank the Natural Resources Subcommittee for getting all of their bills done before crossover. Thank you all for being here, and the committee will rise.